Hello, fellow brothers and sisters. Happy to have you today too. I know today is weekend and everybody is planning what to do over the weekend. Let's just see how things are. But there's one thing I wanted to consider whilst we're looking at the weekend. Now, we are all in the wake of trying to find out who we are, what are we, what makes us to be who we are, what is our purpose on this earth, the kind of potentials that we have in us, and which will enable us to know the kind of things that we need in order to achieve the kind of goals that we must set for ourselves. But what happens is most of the time we do forget the basic things we have in our possession. And some of these basic things that we have in our possessions, what we are going to look into. That's why I decided the 10 fingers and its meaning. This is 5 fingers and this is 5 fingers. So if you put them together, they become 10. But what's the meaning of it? Do we just have those fingers there, or there is a real meaning to those fingers? This is the left hand with 5, and this is the right hand with 5. Now, let's look at the 5 from the left hand. This one we call the thumb. The thumb means, before we come down to the explanation of it, let's look at what is the 5? What is this 5? What does it mean? The meaning of this 5 is the 5 common senses that we possess. The sense of seeing, feeling, the sense of hearing, the sense of taste, and the sense of smell. These are the 5 senses that every human being possesses. So these 5 fingers are going to lead us to know which finger is equivalent to those fingers. And they have to reflect in this one. Because if they don't reflect, then it doesn't really mean anything. Okay. Now we look at the thumb. The thumb is the eye, and the eye is a mirror of the soul of every object. Not only human beings, not only animals, but every image. The eye takes the image of the object, then send it down to the memory, send it down to the brain to have an identification. That identification, when it is being identified, then it goes down to the mind for it to be. Now we come down to the index finger. The index finger is a sense of feelings. Sense of feelings come from emotions. Through the emotions, we absorb it and go to the level of feeling it. And through feelings, imaginations are created. Now, if we come down to the one in the middle, which is the middle finger, which unfortunately most of the time it's seen as something else. But anyway, that's not what we are here for anyway. So this one, the middle finger is a sense of hearing, which is whatever goes down into the brain, whatever goes down into the ears. That is the sound that comes out. It needs to be identified. This process goes on in the brain, and at the end of the day, what is accepted goes on to the mind, it goes in the memory. Now, this finger here is a sense of taste. The sense of taste comes from the mouth. When you taste it, it goes down, the process goes down through the brain processes it and identify a particular product that you might be looking for. If you are looking for garlic in the food, you might be able to identify it. If you are looking for carrots in the food, you might be able to identify it. If you are looking for curry in the food, you might be able to identify it. Sense of that gives you that. Now, then we come down to the last one, which is a small finger. The small finger is a sense of smell. So these are the 5 senses. Now let's look at the other 5 to see what they are, and at the end of the day, relate it to the other 5 so that if we put them together, we might see what comes out of it. Now, the right thumb. The right thumb. Now, okay, the 5 fingers is the 5 common laws of every human being. It does not matter whether you are black, you are white, you are gold, you are yellow, whatever it is, whichever color that you come from, whatever background that you have, It does not have no, it doesn't look at race, or it doesn't look at anything. It's just the 5 common laws for every human being. Every human being need to know and understand. Because if you understand it, then you can see yourself. You can see yourself, and you can see your relationship with the kind of God that you worship. I don't know the kind of God that you worship. You don't know the kind of God that I worship. I know the kind of God that I worship. So if you don't know the kind of God that you are worshiping, and you are dead, we'll come to death some time to come. Now let's go ahead. So this term here means I am the Lord your God. Worship no other God apart from me. Now the fact is, if he says, if this term is saying I am the Lord your God, worship no God apart from me, then who is talking and who is listening? That comes a question. Okay, now let's go further. We might find out who this God is. Now, if you come down to the second one, which is the index finger, it says, I am not up there, neither am I down here, and you can't find me anywhere, because inside you is where I live, and your heart is where I dwell. Okay, so the question is, if he dwells inside, then who is that person that dwells inside? If you come to the middle finger again, which unfortunately we see it to be something else, this middle finger says, thou shalt not use the Lord thy God in vain. Here, if you listen to it very carefully, he's not saying that thou shalt not use the Lord our God. Because if it has been our God, it would have been a God for all of us. But he said, thy God, which means you alone. That God belongs to only you and nobody else. So there is a name given to this God. Now you have to find out what is the name of that God that dwells in you, which is never hard for you to find, because when you were born, you never came down to the world with a name. Because if you have come with a name, that name would have been written on your part of your body. But because you didn't come with a name, there is nothing written on the part of your body. So a name was given to you. That name given to you was a name which does not die. It has been given to so many people before you, and it will be given to so many people before and after you. So that name given to you have got a spirit inside that name. And that spirit is a spirit that speaks inside you when you sit alone. I don't know what you talk about when you are alone, because you are yourself. The same way you also wouldn't know what I'm thinking when I sit down alone by myself, because I'm myself. See, but when you are sitting down alone, there is a voice that speaks in this body. That voice that speaks in that body, the name of that voice is the name which you are called. That's when the friends call you Daniel, Peter, John. You respond to those names. Why do you respond to those names? Because if they are calling you, and if they are calling you, then you have to respond to it. You just don't respond to it. You respond and take responsibility. That is why we don't have to use the name given to us in vain, because whatever we do, it will be recorded in that name. We will only be known through our name. When your name is mentioned, it brings back all the memory. If you did a good thing, the memories come back. If you did a bad thing, the memories come back. Whatever you did will be registered. So the importance of the name is what we have to look into it, so that we don't go against it. Now, if you come down to the fourth one, say, honor your father and your mother, so that your days will be long on the land that shall be given to you. How do I honor my father and my mother? My mother spent time to bring me down to the school. My parents spent time to give me education that gives me understanding of what is respect. My parents make sure that when I come down to the community, I know how to behave like a normal human being. All these things we learn from our parents. When we grow up, what do? Whatever we learn from home, whatever we learn from the classroom, we put the two together. Then we bring something out of it. whatever comes out of it, the honor goes down to the parents, because they would say, oh, this is the child, this is the son of Mr. Blah, blah, blah. This is the daughter of Mr. Blah, blah, blah. That's how it goes. In that way, the parents get respect in the society where they live in. But if you become somebody in a society, that society don't really appreciate your presence in it, what happens is they wouldn't look at you, but rather they will look at your parent. Because if your parents have given you a good foundation, there is no way you might end up being in that situation. That is how it goes. And the last finger, which is the fifth finger, which means Anna. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because if you love your neighbor as you love yourself, the other four becomes automatic. When you know who you are, you know who your neighbor is. So love your neighbor, you love yourself. You can never love your neighbor more than yourself, and you can never love yourself more than your neighbor, because you need your neighbor to help you to stand up in terms of need, and your neighbor needs you to stand up. Okay. So now let's put this five and this five together to see what comes out of it. Now, this one is the eyes, and this one is the eye. I am the Lord your God. This is the eyes. If I look in your eyes, see the God that lives in that body. This one is the feelings, and this one is that shall not make any image in the air, in the heavens, nor in the earth, nor anywhere else. Through our emotions, we develop feelings. Through the feelings, we have imagination. This imagination will bring them back into reality. This reality, some of them become images, which we fall on it, worship. Some could be from the sea, some could be from the trees, some could be from whatever it is, some could be from the cross, whatever it is. This is how it is. So we go down to this one, which is the sense of hearing. And this is your name. When a name is mentioned, it comes through the mouth. Through the mouth, the name is given. The mouth and the ears, they have a connection. And that connection is anytime the name is mentioned, the ear hears it, then it goes straight. You come down to the fourth one. This one is a sense of taste, and this one is honor your father and your mother. How do I honor my father and my mother? And how do the people feel it? People will honor my father and my mother through their mouth. Oh, that is the son of Mr. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, that is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Blah, blah, blah. That's how it goes. So honor comes from the mouth. When you eat the food, the taste that comes out to your mouth, you feel whether the food is good or that the food is bad. The same way, when your parents gives you the foundation, it is the society that will look through that foundation to judge whether they deserve to be honored or they don't deserve to be honored. That is how it goes. Now we come down to the small fingers. With the small fingers, you have the sense of smell and love your neighbor as you love yourself. How do I realize my neighbor? My neighbor means the next human being. Because if you bind my eyes and you put a human being and a goat in front of me, I only have my nose to identify who is who. Automatically, I will sense the human being. No matter what kind of a perfume or whatever that the person have got on, there are senses, there is a connection between the two of us. So I smell that human being. And if I can smell it, then I need to treat that human being like the way he deserves to be. Now, if I put this and this together, they have to give me a meaning. The five senses that belong to the human body, the five common laws that belong to the human spirit. Now, if you put the human body and the human spirit together, It's like a telephone link between you and your God. In this way, not even your parents, nor your loved ones, nor the devil have got the opportunity to come in between it, if only you know what it is. That is the more reason why these two hands, they have got their own common philosophy. And that common philosophy is this one washes this one, and this one washes this one. Every day we do it, but do we know the meaning of it? Every day we go to the bathroom and we take a shower. This hand wash this hand, this hand wash this hand, because we know that this hand cannot wash itself and this hand cannot wash this hand. Why can't we see that? You, as you are listening to it, might be the right hand. Me, as I'm speaking, I am the left hand. If I don't wash you your back and you don't wash my back, who else will wash our? That is the meaning of the 10 fingers. I will come again, leave everything right with you. Have a nice one and enjoy your nice weekend. Bye.